everybody. So it was Aston Villa 2, Leicester City 4. Not great, not great. I was hoping something would cheer me up from watching The Last of Us episode 3, which was absolutely incredible and also, quite emotional. So, yes, I was hoping for something that might be, lift me up. Though, to be honest, that show, it did lift me up because it was quite an uplifting message, but it gets the tears flowing, and the tears also flowed watching Villa today. So, I thought something we said on this podcast recently was that Unai Emery, we love Professor Unai, of course, but since he came in, other than the Man United 3-1 on his first game, Villa at home against Liverpool, Wolves, Leeds, and Leicester. Well, now Leicester, I guess, but the previous 3 games had looked very vulnerable in the first half. Leeds dominated it first half, and Villa came back second half and were much better. Exactly the same happening against Wolves, and the same happened against Liverpool, even though Villa had tons of chances. Now, of all of those games, I would argue that the Leicester game resembled the Liverpool one. Villa started really well, and in the first 10 minutes should have been possibly even 2-0 up. And the goal we gifted away was really poor. But what's going to happen as Aston Villa insist on playing it out from the back, which I am really happy about because that's what the best teams do, is that at some point, as we get used to playing that style, there are going to be mistakes, and it was going to come at some point, and it just so happened it was against Leicester. It's very frustrating that it happened when it did because we'd just gone 1-0 up. It was very early in the game. Leicester were looking really low on confidence and pretty poor, I thought. And it just felt like Villa were going to go, after the going 1-0 up through Watkins' goal, that Villa were just going to go on and, just get another 2 or 3, and that'd be the end of that. But it also meant Maddison scored, and the one player you don't want to get, momentum behind him early on in the game is James Maddison, who is by far and away Leicester's best player. Although you could argue that their new signing Tete was also had a really major positive impact for them today at Villa Park. But the first half was kind of crazy. I couldn't really believe that Villa were 3-2 down at all. Watkins scored the first goal, really good follow-up to score it. And then the second goal, a deflection off Harry Souttar. But, when Villa took the lead again to go 2-1 up, you thought, well, surely now there's not going to be any sloppy mistakes and we'll go on and, score more. But I think in fairness, Leicester's second goal, I don't really know how Iheanacho always seems to score against Villa. There's always strikers who score all the time against Villa, and he just happens to be one of them. I think I'd need to watch that goal back, but it felt it was too easy for him to find space between Luca Dean and Tyrone Mings. And then the third goal, well, again, Boubacar Kamara, he's been an absolutely brilliant signing for Villa. Today was just, he's 23. He's going to have off days, as every single professional footballer does. As a young player, he just had one of his off days is during his development process, and so you can't hold it against him because he's been absolutely brilliant for us and will continue to be excellent for us. I'm certain of that. But today, 2 of the goals you could say were his fault. I personally felt the first goal, Emi Martinez should have picked Tyrone Mings as the pass. It felt like Mings had a little bit more space to work with, and that Kamara was always going to be put under pressure. But what he should have done, he'd gotten away from his man. He should have laid it off, but maybe he was a little overconfident in how far he could take it and played himself into trouble. Or he could have just passed it straight back to Emi Martinez, But as I say, that's just something that as a young player, he'll learn and develop and get better at, hopefully. So for Villa to be 3-2 down was pretty shocking, to be honest. I just couldn't work out how it had happened because for large spells, Leicester looked not very good, I thought, and Villa looked pretty good. And second half, Alex Moreno coming on, offered such an attacking dynamism. I thought he was really good going forward and gave Souttar a real nightmare at times. Emi Buendia was supremely good, I thought. This was one of his best games he's had for Villa, particularly this season. And if Buendia could just do that more regularly, with more consistency, he'd push for the Argentina national team. And that's how he has to look at it, because Buendia is good enough to play for Argentina, as he has done already. But the best Argentinian attackers, there's a reason they're World Cup champions. And that's because their attackers, well, the whole squad is great, but their attackers are consistent. They will always do something magic every game. And Buendia is capable of that. And if he can play like he did against Leicester for Villa regularly, there's no stopping the guy. He's such a talented player, and I thought he was excellent. Did not deserve to be on the losing team. Created so many chances that we just weren't clinical enough. And so, where I said earlier, this game reminded me of the Liverpool game, was that Villa had to take the initiative at home and looked like they did create lots of chances, but sort of going forward, it meant we were very vulnerable to the counter-attack, and that individual errors could potentially cost us. And the opposition team always felt like they could just have a moment where we'd make a mistake, or we'd be caught far up the pitch, they could hit us on the counter. And Leicester and Liverpool are two sides that have players who can do that. So that is something that I think Unai Emery will for sure be working on at the Unai-versity that he runs. And I'm pretty sure Villa's players are going to have a long day at training tomorrow or Monday, where they have to sit down and take in a lot of information about why things didn't work. But for sure, there is a consistent pattern at the moment where Villa first half have not done too well at home recently. And that the Liverpool and Leicester games are definitely games that we need to learn from and we need to react to work out how to deal with teams that can just hit us on the counter and not just get caught out all the time. Because if you look at us away, we always look much more solid. Perhaps we don't really need to take that initiative as we do at home. So for sure, there will be things that I think Unai Emery will want to take from this. Do we lack a bit of physicality at times? I think there's probably a case that we do, and that's why Guendouzi might have been a really good addition for us. But the transfer window happened. I know there's a lot of people who are still frustrated we didn't sign as many players as they would like. But as I said before, I'm happy enough about it, because I'd rather Villa get the players they want, who Emery really feels can improve the team, rather than just go for second or third choice, who are going to cost loads of money, and then restrict who we can sign going forward. And potentially this summer, we can get the players that Emery wants, and we might go really big on the fees that we spend. We freed up quite a bit of money with some of the players we've let go, selling Danny Ings, dropping him off the wage bill. That probably frees us up. Now, one player who made his debut today was Yon Duran, who we did sign during the transfer window. Young man coming on, 19 years of age. He looked physical. He held the ball up a couple of times. His first touch, I think, was getting around Soyuncu, headed it past him, and then Soyuncu took him out. And, that's already a positive sign from Duran that he can get amongst it. It's a very brief cameo. He's going to have to get used to the Premier League and learn from it, but he's got no better coach to learn from than Unai Emery, who I'm sure will be able to identify strengths and weaknesses very quickly and drill into him how to improve. But that was a positive start, I thought, for Duran, for such a young player to come in on his debut and do all right. So look, no crisis, no drama. It was a really good attacking display. We just weren't clinical enough. There's a bit of a pattern emerging that Villa are quite vulnerable at home at times, or can be got at home. And that's something that for sure we need to improve going forward. But we have Unai Emery in charge. We have a manager who's won 4 Europa Leagues and who I fully back to be able to work out how to improve us compared to previous management, who you would say would go to the players and go, we just got to get amongst them. I'm going to shout at them and ball at them, and I want that bit of magic without ever formulating a strategy that enables those players to show their best. So up the Villa, we move on. Tough game next, Man City away. But look, again, you never know. Villa away, we cause problems for some of the better teams, as we did against Tottenham not so long ago. So who's to say we can't turn up and pull off, what would be a surprise result, let's face it, because City are the best team in the universe. So, I'm still positive. I'm going to remain positive right to the end of the season. And in Unai, we trust. Up the Villa.